Hey guys, it's Dylan. I don't really have much for this video. I'm just going to pretty much talk for most of it and then play a song. Maybe I have my guitar because I want to just mess around with it. Um, I'm going to start this off by saying that these are my opinions. I have no idea. Like, these are my opinions based off of other people's opinions. I heard that once in a Bo Burnham thing and I've been using it ever since. Um, Pretty much, I want to say a couple of things about the whole net neutrality thing that I've seen a lot going on Tumblr. Um, I saw a Markiplier video about it, and pretty much outside of that. Speaking about that Markiplier video, I have to say, videos, like HD videos, are way better than seeing anybody in person. Like, if you look at some of the videos that Markiplier has, when he's just talking to the camera, and if you were able to see everybody like that, you would never want to see them in the crappy quality that you have in your own eyes. Let's be honest here. Anyway, back to this whole net neutrality thing. I personally think it's bullshit. Not net neutrality itself, but the whole discussion about it. Because, like, if everybody's already complaining about it, do you honestly think that they're going to take away the whole net neutrality thing? I understand I am taking this with a grain of salt, but that's pretty much my outlook on everything in life. So I mean, like, don't get upset with me about it because I'm like this for most things. It's not net neutrality specific. It's most things that I'm like this with. So, and I also read, like, there was one sign about net neutrality. Honestly, I've seen a lot of pictures about what net neutrality will look like. I don't know if, or no net neutrality. I think it's no net neutrality. But I've seen a lot of pictures of what it'll look like after the vote, and it's just like, I'm not sure if that was photoshopped or if that was an actual thing. I'm not sure. I have no idea. It could have been somebody who made it just as a pre-warning, like, hey, this is how it will look like forever now. And I remember seeing, like, somebody made a comment, like, no students will be able to get online resources and stuff like that. And I believe this was last night, too. And I was thinking about it, and just, like, do you really think that the FCC and other people will allow this? Because if everybody goes online and all of their textbooks that they get are online, because I will let you guys in on something. I used to play D&D. My brother plays D&D. For all of you that don't know, D&D is Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, it's that nerd game that everybody hated nerds for, question mark. But he prefers to have the online PDF files of the game. I prefer to have the actual book in hand. So I mean, I spend a lot of money on books that I'm not even using anymore. But I personally prefer to get the physical book versus using online versions. So I mean, I guess that part doesn't really affect me much. I don't use the books anyway, but I'm just saying. Where are they going with this? So if you were to take away all the online resources for students, like, then they're going to have to be going to the library more in order to use the books. Now, of course, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but a lot of people would prefer to use the online things, and there's a lot of people like me where if they can't get what they want, they're not going to bother doing it anyway. Like, personally for me, we have this whole Cornell note system in our school, and that if you don't have your binder set up in a certain way, and you don't have the Cornell notes written down in a certain way, you get a flat-out 0 for everything. And I personally haven't been in school for the past 2-3 weeks, because I had a leg injury that just got too much for me to handle, and I got back surgery about 2 weeks ago. I'm feeling a lot better now. I'm hopefully going back to school what I think Wednesday because I'm going for post-op tomorrow. So, anyway, where was I going with this? I'm sorry I'm saying a lot. It's how I think. I speak as I think. I think as I speak. I don't know. With having to go physical places and not allowing students to go online, you're taking away the resources that they've been using. So if they had everything on, let's say, Google Documents, and you have to pay, let's say, $5 a day in order to use Google Docs, then they're spending money on top of what they already have in order to learn what they need to learn for school. And I'm just like, so you want kids to pay to be smart, or you would just much rather them not pay and be idiots. Like, I can't fathom, I'm not sure if I'm using that word right, but I can't fathom a world where the government, the FCC, I'm not sure if the FCC is the government, I'm going to presume it's not, but like, I can't fathom the government allowing the FCC to do this, because who in their right minds would want their new generation, the people who are going to take over this world, after they're long dead and gone, who's going to allow them to grow up being stupid? If you have to pay $30 a month in order to learn the things that you are already learning right now, there are people who are broke that I heard my teachers talk about, that they spend their entire family spend all of the money they have just for that child to go to school. I do not believe that in the smallest bit. I think that is all bullshit, but I know it's out there. So the entire family is paying for this one kid to go to school, even though they're already in debt. And if they're in debt and they're paying all their money for this child to go to school, do you really think that taking away all the online resources and having to pay more money for it is really going to help society? No, that's not how that works. If you have to pay to help society, do you really think anybody's going to really help society? Nobody's going to pay money for bullshit, which is what taking away net neutrality personally to me is. If you're going to pay money to learn something, why? Why are you going to pay money at all? I know that's how the school system works, that's how the school board works. I understand that, but we're not paying for it. It's coming out of our taxes, so we're not paying for it. It's just being accumulated over everything we're purchasing. So, let's just say, I believe the tax in Florida is 6%. I'm not sure what it is in everybody else's states. It's 6%. So let's just say 1% of that goes to school boards, 1% of that goes to fixing up buildings, 1% of that goes to the government, and just stuff like that. Let's just say everything that we're paying taxes for is 1%, which means we're only paying 6 things. I know that's pretty much not how it's divided up, but just bear with me. Let's say that that we're paying 1% for the school boards. So boards, I cannot say that properly apparently. So we're paying 1% for all the schools out there, and then we're gonna have to be paying more in order to learn. We're already paying money to learn, and then we're going to have to spend $5, $30, $100 just to learn outside of school. Nobody's going to want to do that anyway, so what makes you think that you're going to be able to profit from this if there are people out there like me that's like, what the fuck? Why should I do this? One, didn't have to do this before, so why are you forcing it upon us now? Which is how I think about the whole Cornell note system, but let's pin that for another conversation. There are people out there I know that are like me that just think about it this way, where if we're going to have to pay $30 more just to learn something, why? I'd rather be an idiot than be stupid enough to pay money to learn something. Now, I understand the contradiction in that sentence, but I always told myself I'm an idiot, I'm not stupid. There is a difference. I personally like to think that the whole stupidity thing would be the common sense, as in like, I'm smart enough to understand that I shouldn't go out alone without any kind of protection. I'm smart enough not to go out into the cold, bare naked. And then the idiot part is just my conscious decisions where I'm like, hey, let's do this, and then it turns out terribly bad. But it's not one of those common sense choices, it's one of those, you have to like really think about it in order to figure out, hey, there could be consequences from this. So yeah, that's my take for the whole net neutrality thing. I've been talking for about 10 minutes about this. 10 minutes and 30 seconds, yeah. So, I guess I'm just gonna title this video as a rant or something. I might have already talked about the Cornell note system. I'll talk about that just for a little bit longer. As far as the Cornell note system goes, it's just like, I've been in school for 12 years now. I'm counting kindergarten as a grade because you're supposed to. So I've been in school for about 12 years now. And, wait, hold on. I think technically 13 because I was held back 1 year. Whatever. So I've been in school so long, and then halfway through my high school, halfway through high school years, so pretty much 11th grade, they came up with this new bullshit called the Cornell note system and I guess the avid binder system. I'm not sure if it's a system or not, but it's just the avid binders is how you're supposed to set it up. And my mom's done some research and figured out that the Cornell note system is flawed. They're not even doing it based off of the Cornell note system. They're doing it based off of the memory about it. So it's not even like, if you take your notes this way, you'll remember it perfectly. It's if you check back and look back at your note system after the first time, after the first time you check back and you revise, you'll learn about 25% more. The second time, you'll be at about a 50% memory. The third time, you'll be at a 60% memory. And then each time you go back, you'll remember it more and more and more. And that's what they're basing it off of. They're not even basing it off of the whole, the whole note system, which is how you're supposed to plan it out. They're doing it based off of the memory base, in which you can do that with any notes. Like, let's be honest, if you start taking notes a certain way and you get F's for it, but the notes you have been taking, you've been getting straight A's, do you really think that somebody is going to stick with those kinds of notes if it's much easier and much better for their academics to do it the way that they have been doing it? Like, I'm not going to lie, that's why I've pretty much not been taking any kind of notes whatsoever. There are some classes that, yes, I do take notes in, even though I personally do not like taking notes for whatever reason. If I don't remember it, I'm not going to remember it. Even if I write it down, my memory is still going to be hazy about it, and I'm not going to look back at my notes anyway. The only good my notes do is when they say, hey, during this test, you can look back at your notes. That's the only time I ever really look at my notes, and I know that's not a good thing, but that's just how my mind is programmed. So, like even having the Cornell note system, it's still not going to work for me because I don't check back my notes. Not to mention, they have this intro, the entire note section, and then the summary section that you're supposed to do. And they tell you to do the intro, do the note section, but they never tell you to do the summary. And they say, well, that's because you're supposed to do it at home when you're checking back your notes. If there are people out there like me, which I'm pretty sure there are, which is why I don't do homework, that home is not for school. My computer just, there you go. The reason why I don't do homework and stuff like that, because home is not for school. School is for school, not home. Home is for kids to relax. So I'm not a big fan of, homework and all at that regard, because they're testing you on things that, like, there's no purpose to it. Like, if you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. I personally am just not a big fan of school in general. So, and then with the whole binder thing, I don't have my binder in here with me, But pretty much I didn't buy the binders that they were selling for $15 at least. I was borrowing my brother's binder that I'm pretty sure I borrowed a while ago just for reasons, and I had it with me. And when you open it up, there's notes on this side. If you were to take all of that, there's a little plastic, not plastic, but there's like a little flap that you could open up for even more paper. And that put all that down on the other side, you unvelcro something, you pull it out, and there's a whole bunch of dividers in here. And I remember dividers are something that you need to have in there. Pretty much everything about the binder. Oh, and you also needed a 3-inch binder, which doesn't fit in my backpack. Why do I have a backpack then? What's the point of a backpack if what you need for the backpack, or to go into the backpack, doesn't fit? So, like, it's just annoying as hell to put all that shit in there, because I can put all of that in there. I can put all of everything that was in the binder, except for the binder itself, into my backpack, and have tons of room. But if I were to put the binder in there, I have no room at all. But yet, I need the binder. Why? But I was told by one of my teachers when they did the binder check, which is why I just got rid of the binder entirely, because that's bullshit, that all the paper I had that was in the rings, I don't remember what they're called, the rings, because all of that paper was pretty much my scrap paper, was all the paper that, when they say pull out a paper, that's where I got it from, because all of that was blank. Like, okay, whatever. But because I didn't have the dividers in that section, I got a 0 for everything. No matter if I had everything else, A++, A++, A++. Because of that, I get a straight 0 for everything. Which is how one of my teachers were last year, because she did the Cornell thing just in general. And because I didn't have it set out properly, she gave me a 0 for the entire thing. So the reason why I don't do the Cornell notes and the reason why I don't do the binder thing is because why work to nothing? Like, I understand volunteer work and stuff like that, but if you were going to your job to get paid, and you did all of this, but because you didn't, let me give one bullshit thing, because you didn't put your pen back in its pen cup holder, whatever, because you didn't put the pen back, you got $0 on your paycheck every week because you did not keep the pen where it's supposed to be kept, even though it's a lot smarter for you to put into your little pen pocket or your little jean pocket to hold on to it so that you have it whenever you need it, because that's smart. But because you didn't have it in the little pen holder thing with 1,000 other pens, you get a 0 on your check every week. Now, would you really do all of this work, and get, like, super exemplary words are very hard in this English language that I'm speaking, because you, like, even though you did outstanding work, you get a 0 because of this one little minute, minuscule thing. Is that really fair? No, like, and that's why I find the Cornell note system and the fucking binder system in my school complete bullshit, because if you don't have this one little thing that is really just a design, like, if you don't have the design properly, it's all trash, it's all fucked up, and I don't see why it even matters that much. If you have all of the detail-oriented things, if you have all of the fluff that you need for it, then why did the design matter? Which is why I don't understand why the Cornell note system is a thing anyway, because if there are people who take notes, odds are they're taking notes well enough for them to understand. I don't care if you give a shit what I wrote. I don't care if you can read what I wrote. But as long as I'm able to read what I wrote, which 9 times out of 10 is not a thing because of how dastardly my handwriting is. But as long as I can read what I wrote, why does it matter what kind of notes I have as long as they're helping me? Like, seriously, what the fuck? I just realized I have a maximum of 27 minutes before I cannot record any more video, and I know once I get to the, 3-minute mark, it's not going to, run as fast anymore. So odds are I'm just going to end this video, here, and just upload it. I have several other things I'd like to say, but I clearly don't have time for it. I can probably use my new webcam and just record videos from that, which I think I'm going to do next, and I might keep up that work. Excuse me. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this rant. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. It doesn't really matter to me, and I will see you guys next time.